Why can't I let this go? I remember asking myself that question after my divorce. There was one thing that had been said, one sentence. I replayed it over and over again. I argued with it in my mind. I looked at it from every possible angle, hoping that if I thought about it long enough, it would finally make sense. Instead, it felt like stepping into a tar pit. The harder I tried to get out, the more stuck I became. What frustrated me most was that the people closest to me couldn't make sense of it either. I'd explained what had happened. They'd pause, and eventually they'd say some version of, "That doesn't make sense. I already knew that. That's why I couldn't stop thinking about it." Sometimes we aren't trying to let it go. For a long time, I believed something was wrong with me. Why couldn't I move on? Why was my mind still going back there? Why couldn't I just let it go? Looking back, I don't think I was failing to let go. I think I was trying to solve it. Those are two very different things. Our minds like things that make sense. As human beings, we're wired to look for patterns, to understand, to make sense of our experiences. Most of the time, that serves us well. But every now and then, something happens that doesn't fit. Someone says something that doesn't line up with everything else that you know to be true. Some actions don't match words. An ending comes without the explanation you thought you would have. Your mind naturally keeps returning to it, not because you enjoy suffering, because you're still looking for the missing piece. The question that had no answer. The shift didn't happen because I finally figured it out. It happened because I realized I was asking a question that no longer had an answer. I was trying to make something make sense that simply didn't. That realization shifted the direction of my thoughts, not because it erased the hurt, but because it helped me stop expecting clarity from something that wasn't capable of providing it. There's a difference between an unanswered question and an unanswerable one. Recognizing that difference can be surprisingly freeing. If you found yourself replaying conversations over and over, you may also find this helpful. Why do I keep replaying that conversation? Sometimes we're trying to understand something. Other times we're trying to solve something that has no solution. Those experiences are related, but they're not the same. Letting go isn't forgetting. One of the things I misunderstood for years was the idea of letting it go. I thought it meant I had to stop thinking about it, stop caring, stop remembering, but that isn't what happened. What changed was that I slowly stopped asking the impossible question. I stopped expecting the past to give me something it no longer could. That didn't happen overnight. It happened a little at a time. When we keep looking for an answer, sometimes we believe that if we just think about it a little longer, read one more article, replay one more conversation, ask one more person what they think, we'll finally arrive at the answer that brings us peace. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. There are experiences in life that simply don't resolve as neatly as we'd like. Life isn't always tidy. That can be incredibly hard to accept, especially if you're someone who values understanding. You don't have to force yourself to move on. If you're still carrying something that doesn't make sense, there's not anything wrong with you. Your mind may simply be trying to finish something that feels unfinished. The invitation isn't to force yourself to stop thinking about it. It's to gently ask yourself, am I looking for an answer that exists, or am I asking life to explain something that may never fully make sense? Those are difficult questions, and they're often kinder than repeatedly asking yourself, why can't I let this go? If this is where you are right now, carrying a question that keeps pulling you back, you don't have to sort through it by yourself. Sometimes simply saying it out loud helps you recognize which questions still have room to be explored and which ones are ready to be released. A place to talk it through. At Hold, we offer a calm, confidential space where you can talk through the experiences that continue to stay with you without judgment, interruption, or advice. Sometimes clarity comes from finding an answer. Sometimes it comes from realizing you no longer need one. If you're not ready for that, you're welcome to explore other blogs and take your time, or consider my ebook, Thriving Through Divorce, here. Whatever you're letting go of, I hope you find your way to peace.